A lot of noise.
A lot of noise in the background.
Yeah, a lot of noise. No, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first All-Star Podcast here on A2D Radio. We're right here at Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. To my left, Les Bowens. Yes, sir.
Yes.
To my other left, Paul Domowitch. To my right, Hollis Tank Thomas. And I'm Irving Fryar. We're got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking Eagles. I don't know if we'll be able to get to any of your comments, but we won't have time because Les is here, and Les is going to take up all the time.
I don't talk that much.
Les is more.
Les, I've seen you and heard you talk before.
Okay.
You do a good job, though, and what you say is relevant. So,
Thanks.
I mean, it's not like you're.
Are you sure you've heard me talk?
Yes, I've heard you talk before. And you too, Paul. Damo, your stuff is good too. So Les is going to talk about the defensive backfield, DBs. Paul is going to talk about the offensive line. Obviously, Big Tank Hollis is going to talk. You're sweating, man. You all right?
Yeah, I'm warm. I'm always warm.
I know, but you.
I don't have my
all of
fan.
a sudden you started just like
I don't
turned
have
into a drench.
I don't have my fan, and then you got me out of proximity of my air conditioning.
He's not in his natural habitat.
Are we standing too close to you?
What are you sitting at? I see the AC.
Yeah, we'll see if we get Craig to fan you. Can you get a fan over here for my man before he passes out? My goodness.
Well, see, this is one of my main spots, and normally I sit right there on the bar, and the AC goes there, or at the other end, and the AC comes there.
So the next time we do a show, we got to turn this table around.
Yeah, we got to get
so the air conditioning is facing Tank.
This is not the optimal spot.
Yeah. But you're going to be able to hang in there long enough to talk about the defensive line?
Most definitely.
Okay, and of course, I'll give us a little review with the wide receivers for the Eagles. We got about an hour show. Y'all come on in the room. Any comments? Our producer, Tom, will give us any comments we need to respond to. Les, why don't you just take it away and talk to us about the defensive backs for the Eagles this year?
All righty, Irv. Thank you. Yeah, it's really an interesting setup with the DBs. I saw where Rondé Barber recently ranked the Eagles secondary this year, coming into this year, as third in the league. That's pretty good considering there's been some changes.
Right, yeah.
We thought there were going to be even more changes than there turned out to be. When the offseason started, everybody thought they wouldn't re-sign James Bradberry. And then this whole thing came up with Darius Slay, where it seemed that Slay was going to be released. It was almost announced.
It was almost like he wanted to be released. He wanted to be released.
It was a problem with his cap number, and they couldn't come to a good resolution. And it looked like he was going to. So it looked like they were going to lose both the corners there for a very brief time. But they re-signed. They were able to work out a deal with Bradberry, which no one thought was happening, and they were able to resolve the situation with Slay. So suddenly they're back with two of probably the best 5 or 6 corners in the league, which is a darn good place to be. And they've got a really deep room, I think, at corner. After Slay and Bradberry, there's Avonte Maddox in the slot. There's McPherson, Zach McPherson, who's been here a few years now, and they like him. The rookie, Kelee Ringo from Georgia. There's Josh Jobe, who was really good as a gunner last year on special teams, and a lot of people think he'll be a good corner. So, and then there's Greedy Williams is here, Mario Goodrich, a couple UDFAs like Eli Ricks and McKay Gardner. It's a really loaded. They're going to bring like a dozen corners to camp, and probably only a couple of them really don't have much of a chance of doing anything. Safety is a much different concern. They've lost both the starters.
Right.
Gardner-Johnson tied for the league lead in interceptions with 6, even though he missed 5 games, which is it's hard to tie for the league in interceptions and miss 5 games, but he did it. They did not bring him back, and I was a little surprised in that he only got a 1-year deal out of Detroit for not a lot of money. It was like $6 million, $6.5 million.
That's not a lot of money.
No.
Well,
would you take
for a guy coming off a heck of a year?
Would you take $6 million to go play for Detroit?
Oh, certainly. But it's it was because of the salary cap. But when you look at the money he got, he didn't get a multi-year deal. They could have brought him back.
But
I don't know what to make of that, really.
I was going to ask you a question, Les, about that particular instance, and I'm glad I got you here.
Okay.
It's like the same thing, exact thing happened to him during the draft. He was supposed to be a high draft pick, and a lot of his off the field antics started rearing their ugly head. And I kind of think he priced himself out, and so he made the comment that it was just like the draft, over again. So you tell me what you think of what you think transpired. Because I personally think he priced himself out.
Well, I'm not sure about the price, but I do think there's a little concern about what kind of guy he is. When he came, there was a lot of rhetoric leading up to the Super Bowl, and he was talking about, when I came in here, I had to learn what, the Eagles were all about, and I needed to kind of tone down this. And I wonder if they thought that he was going to keep on that path or if he was going to go back. New Orleans kind of wanted to get rid of him, even though he was a good player.
He's a tremendous player.
And, I don't know that played a part in it, but I sure do think that they kind of wondered what kind of guy he was going to be long term and whether they wanted to invest any real money in him.
That's what I was going to say. And I'll pose this question to you as well, Irv. Do you think that they just thought in giving him all that money, he would just start acting a donkey?
Well, I mean, that's
because if you give somebody that type of money and that type of security, so that they're not playing on the edge anymore. That's why. What do you guys think about that part?
Antonio Brown is what I think about it, because Antonio Brown was a guy who was very compliant until and this is from the mouths of teammates that played with him. He was a good guy. He was very cordial. He was a guy who was. Who walked between the lines, but then when he got that big contract, all of a sudden he turned into a whole different person.
So now, what do they have? The other starter was Marcus Epps, a guy that I liked because they got him from Minnesota a few years ago just to be a special teams guy, and he worked his way up and really worked hard to be an asset as a safety. But again, a guy that probably had a ceiling. Yeah. And, Las Vegas ended up signing him. The Eagles didn't seem that interested in keeping him. So now you got two new starting safeties. Who are they going to be? They signed Terrell Edmonds from the Steelers, who had 5 years with the Steelers, wasn't always a starter, but was a decent player. Reed Blankenship, the UDFA last year from Middle Tennessee State, who played a lot of snaps.
I like him.
You wonder, though, about a UDFA, how much better is he going to get? And, there's a reason why he wasn't drafted by anybody, right? There's a UDFA right there, yes. But I think scouting has come a long way since your day. Okay. And I just wonder, if this guy is that good, why wasn't he drafted? But I do think he had a hell of a rookie year, and I'm not saying he can't do it.
Right.
I'm just saying it's –
but sometimes, when you look at particularly guys like Hollis, players like Hollis who were undrafted and ended up playing, double-digit years in the league and being very productive, there's only so many slots in the draft. Right. And there are a lot of players out there who are capable of playing in the NFL, and you only have so many draft choices.
And the draft used to be 9 rounds, 12 rounds.
Right.
It's a very different. When Harold Carmichael was drafted, I think they might have had like 15 rounds or something like that. That's a very good point, Irv. So they've got him. They drafted Sidney Brown, a really good college player. I don't know about a rookie starting. I don't think a lot of Super Bowl level teams start rookies, especially at a position like safety, which is a complex position to learn. But he is very, very good.
Remember Malcolm Jenkins? That was his rookie year when they won the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
That's a good point. He was a corner, though. He was a corner.
They moved him to safety immediately when he got there.
Yeah,
because I was there with him that spring.
Yeah,
and they drafted him as a corner, but they wanted to play him as safety under Greg Williams.
Now he was a high first-round pick. Yeah, Malcolm was. But that's maybe a little different, but. Sydney's the second round. That's close enough. Maybe he will be.
Well, I will tell you, I watched him play. He's got a brother. I've seen their story, and I watched him play. He's one of those guys that kind of jumps off at the film at you. He can cover, and he can play safety. He's going to hit you. He makes very few mistakes, and he's meticulous about his work. And that's what I saw in college playing in Illinois. So. And it's good. The one thing that I did see when I actually got a chance to meet him was all the guys they brought in this year seem to be thirsty for knowledge to play. They're trying to learn and they're trying to win. And I think that's like one of the differences that you see nowadays versus other teams that I've been around.
That's cool. Okay.
That's kind of the culture for the Eagles right now. And I think they kind of search for those kind of players as well who are, who are coachable, who are looking to get better, who haven't, because they've been drafted or been drafted high, they're not thinking I've arrived.
Right.
And this team does that. That's coming from the players, not necessarily just the coaches. It's coming from the players. If you're going to come here, you're going to work, you're going to get better. This is a team effort. Okay.
So I've mentioned 3 guys. I mentioned Edmonds, Sidney Brown, and Reed Blankenship. They also have Kayvon Wallace, who's still here, 4 years now. He was a guy that when he was drafted, he was supposed to be the steal of that draft from Clemson.
Right.
He hasn't shown me much.
Yeah.
In any regard, really.
Now, Les, the funniest thing about him, Les, is when he made a special teams play, there's came out.
That's when you hear his name.
Yeah, it's like, but we didn't draft him for that.
Right.
We drafted him because we thought, or everybody thought it was a steal of the draft. I was like, but you let an undrafted free agent pass you up. You let a guy like Marcus Epps come and just supersede you and pass you. And you've been here. It's like, they give the draft picks more chances to mess up.
Yeah.
And it's like but once they stop yelling at you, they've pretty much lost interest in you.
And this is a guy that started, I think, like 45, 50 games at Clemson.
Right.
Against elite competition. You would think this would be a guy to be able to step in and play by now.
Yeah, so how does a guy like that become invisible?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think he has – his playing speed isn't fast.
Right.
I don't know if that's a recognition problem or a physical limitation problem, but I'm always see him trying to tackle guys and he's 2 steps off.
Exactly. His angles are bad. When you said that, Leslie, I was cracking up because it was like sometimes some guys don't get the speed of the NFL game. It's that much faster than the college game, and they can never catch up to the speed. And every time I see him, it's just like you said. He's either 2 steps behind or he's taking a bad angle on the tackle and just totally whipping. It's just I've seen him.
But what happens with players who don't recognize or don't understand the speed? It takes them a little while, and after that first year, they really come into themselves. So they understand what it takes to play at that level and to play with that kind of speed around you. But he hasn't done that. He hasn't made that adjustment.
So there's one other guy that's probably deserving of some mention, Justin Evans. And he's an interesting guy. He's a guy that took years to come back really from an Achilles.
Okay.
But he played last year for the Saints. He got in 15 games. And the Eagles signed him for a 1-year deal this year. And he's not going to blow the world away, but he's a guy that's played in the league. And if he's really over that Achilles finally after like a 3-year recovery, he can make the team and maybe contribute something. But you look at that safety room, and it's so different from the corner room.
Right.
I kind of wonder if we're going to see Avonte Maddox become a safety and maybe McPherson take his job or, one of those corners. They have more than enough corners.
But do you think Zach McPherson is you think he's –
I don't know.
Every time I see him in there, he's getting turned around. And
he's safety material.
I just
not corner material.
Well, when you look at I'm talking about McPherson. McPherson is like they skip over him every time. They'll take a safety and play him at corner instead of putting him in there. And then, when they do stuff like that, the writing's on the wall. They don't trust you. So,
well, obviously something's happened in practice or in the meeting room,
right?
Or something that's alarmed the coaches that have not developed any trust in it.
Yeah,
that's a good point. My larger point is with all these corners, they have probably 8 or 10 corners that could make the team. Somebody in there's got to be able to help them out at safety where they frankly they need another guy. So that's about it. That's what I have on the defensive backfield. It's a good defensive backfield, but there's some questions at safety as to exactly how that's all going to shake out.
All right. Great job, Les.
Yeah,
thanks, man. Les. We got to have you on our show.
Yeah,
okay.
Big time,
We're going Paul.
Yeah.
Domowitch?
Yeah.
Yes. Paul.
Damo. They call you Damo.
Damo.
They do.
Yeah.
Who call you? Who started calling you Damo?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
You don't remember?
Gotta go way back to high school.
Oh, is that high school? Really? Well, okay, we'll go back to high school.
I'm older than you.
I feel close to you now, like we're high school buddies. Because I'm gonna call you Damo. So you got the offensive line.
I do.
All right.
I do.
Hit us up. And guys, jump in like we've been doing.
Okay.
This is great stuff. Jump in anytime you want to interrupt Damo and tell him that he's wrong or congratulate him for being right.
On a team that is regarded possibly as the most talented team in the NFL this year, the offensive line is the creme de la creme. I mean, they were probably the best line in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Even after losing their starting right guard, Isaac Seumalo, and even though they've lost a little bit of depth, this is still right now, going into training camp, the best offensive line in the league. I mean, there are some close seconds. Teams like Kansas City have an outstanding line, Baltimore, Detroit, but the Eagles right now,
And the experts are ranking them number one.
Yeah.
I rank them number one mainly because if you look at Kansas City, they lost both of their offensive tackles again.
Yeah.
So they're going to be playing some younger guys. I feel like we have Stoutland University there, and I'm waiting on him to mention my favorite draft pick from this year. A lot of people think I don't want to steal your thunder. I'll let you continue, but a lot of people think that Cam is going to be the right guard.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has enough rocks in his pocket. That's why I
keep saying that, but you know what? It's not the size
Okay.
of the dog in the fight.
Okay,
It's the size of the fight in the dog.
I'll tell you like I used to tell Leslie, when you on the interior, if you don't have no rocks in your pocket, you have reverse. You don't want to be in reverse. So yeah, and I don't want to mess him up as the successor to Kelsey either, because I feel like if he gets over there at guard and gets his ass kicked. It made dim his life and mess with his confidence. Yeah. No, but it's like it's just because sometimes it be like that because then you have to build it back up to
right
because you're out of position. It's like he's a center. Let him stay a center.
Well, I have a special affinity for Cam Jurgens because we're co-alumni from the University of Nebraska. We're Cornhuskers. Yeah. So I believe in him because I know where he comes from. And the little bit that we've seen from him, I believe if he does end up being the starter day one at the right guard position, he's going to be able to handle it. He'll do a good job.
Nebraska was good when you played for him.
Yeah, we're struggling now. We don't. Why you want to bring up bad stuff, Paul?
Scott Frost.
Yeah, you had to say that, didn't you? We suck now, really. You can just to be honest, and we've sucked for a while.
Matt Rule's going to really energize you guys.
You think so? Yeah, they thought that about Frost too.
Yeah, Frost. Continue, Paul.
Yes, they've got two probable Hall of Famers on that line: Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson. They're at the end of their careers, or at least closer to the end than the beginning, but they still are elite players who are coming off All-Pro seasons. Mulata, the left tackle, and Landon Dickerson are a massive left side. And both of them, I think, have Pro Bowl potential. So that leaves the right guard spot to replace Seumalo. You mentioned Jurgens. Looks like they're going to let him compete with Tyler Steen, the rookie from this year.
Favorite draft pick. Was my favorite draft pick.
That's his guy.
And don't forget Jack Driscoll. I mean, he's a guy that can play inside or outside too. But he'll probably end up being a swing guy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You don't want to mess up your utility knife in case Lane goes down or something. He's always been able to step in. But if Tyler wins, he's a big enough guy where he'll get in there, and it won't be that pressure. Like a lot of people used to ride Seumalo and like him and stuff. I didn't like him because he was always pushing the quarterback's lap. Yeah. And it's like, and he didn't do anything until it was money time. Do you notice we didn't mention his name this past season, but the seasons before that, he was getting drove like a bus.
Yeah. Stoutland loved Seumalo. And Seumalo is an underrated player. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how good he is. Right. I think he'll show it in Pittsburgh.
He didn't show it here.
Yeah. He couldn't stay healthy here. When he was on the field, I thought he was a good player.
Well, I was watching film. He was getting taken to the shed.
But how can you not play well in the middle of that offensive line?
Yeah,
when you have so much talent around you.
I disagree with
how can you not play well?
Your buddy over there.
Yeah, he did
not play well.
But I know, but he did. It's like he played well in spurts.
Right.
But when it was time, he usually ended up in the quarterback's lap. And that was, if you notice, that Jason Kelsey play had fell off for a hot second, and it was because he always had to help him. Now then he started to get it. Now in that last year, yeah, he was doing good this year. But leading up to that, I wasn't kissing over a loser's ass. No, by no stretch of means.
Yeah.
You need to come on and get it up with everybody else.
Rocks in his pocket or not, I think Juergens is probably the favorite to win that right guard spot. He was brought in, like you said, to replace Kelsey. Probably eventually will. But I mean, Tyler Steen is a guy that's got a lot of talent, but he's never played guard. He was at Vanderbilt. He was a right and left tackle. Yep. Then he transfers to Alabama and starts 13 games as their left tackle.
Destroy
So I think Juergens, assuming Juergens wins the job, that leaves them with Driscoll and Tyler Steen as kind of the anchors of they still have some pretty good depth there.
Yeah, Brett.
Oh yeah.
This is not going to be because a lot of people have said, well, they're as good as ever, but they don't have depth. Well, they do.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how many. I mean, there's only so many injuries you can sustain, so we'll see. But
well, I had a point there, and Paul's heard this before about the Steen Juergens thing.
Right.
On behalf of Juergens, I'll say they want him to replace Jason Kelsey probably in 2024.
Right.
I mean, this pretty much has to be it for Kelsey, I think.
Yeah.
Just because he doesn't want to put himself through that. You
Right.
know, he's 35 now.
Right.
Juergens, that's a huge transition.
Right.
Kelsey is a Hall of Fame player, and the fulcrum of that line.
Yeah.
That's replacing him is going to be a big deal.
Yes.
If Juergens can play next to him at right guard all season and listen to him,
That's a good point.
talk about double teams and switches and things like that. That's got to be so helpful to Juergens. Now Juergens has to be able to do the job. Hollis is right about that, but I just think you try to give Juergens every opportunity you can, knowing that he's got gigantic shoes to fill. When I first started writing at the Daily News, I was doing some Phillies, and Mike Schmidt was near the end of his career.
Uh-oh.
But the big thinking at the time was that they're going to be okay. They have this plan. They have this guy, Rick Shue, and he's going to be the third baseman after Mike Schmidt. And he's ready. So Mike Schmidt retired in the middle of the 89 season on Memorial Day. And Rick Shue, turns out, wasn't a very good player. He was barely a major league player, let alone a Mike Schmidt level
real bad
player.
compared to Schmidt.
And, it's good to have a plan, but you got to find out whether that guy can play. Mm-hmm. And I think having Juergens out there this year is kind of important to them if all things are equal. Steen is way better, then maybe you need to rethink your plan.
Right.
I know they're two different positions, but even so, I just think you need to take a real long look at Cam Juergens this year. I guess it's a long-winded way of what I'm trying to say.
And I get that. I never thought, I didn't look at it from that side of getting them in there and getting them some quality experience. I was like, but if he's getting blown out the ball, that's not good experience.
We'll sew some pockets on the side of his pants, and we'll put some rocks in there.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have some rocks in his pants.
I'm just saying they're going to make sport of him, and it's going to be awful.
Last year, besides being good, they were healthy.
Right.
That was a key with that offensive line. 2 missed games, but due to injury to that entire line. Mulata missed 1 game with a shoulder injury, and then Lane Johnson tore the groin third sometime in December. Missed 1 game, comes back with a torn groin, and plays the last game against the Giants when they sew up the number 1 seed, and then 3 playoff games, and he played the best football of his career. I don't know how on a torn groin that should have been.
When you're injured, you focus more. Trust me.
And he did.
You focus more.
But compare that to 2020. 40 missed games due to injury with Jason Peters, with Malo, with Brandon Brooks missed the whole season with the torn Achilles, and they finished 4-11-1. So, can they stay as healthy this year as they did last year? Maybe, but you don't often, you can hope it's not as bad as 2020,
right.
and that it's somewhere close to last year. But you've got Jason who's going to be 36 in November. You got Lane who's 33. You got Landon Dickerson who slid to the second round with all his talent because of all the injuries he had at Alabama. So there's that concern. But if they stay healthy, this is going to be the best line in the league. Their only negative last year was penalties. They led the league in penalties.
They started out real bad with penalties. The first few games.
The weird part was, they had a lot of holds, but that what not killed them, but so many false starts because they seem to be having a problem with Jalen's cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then because of so many RPOs that they play, they led the league in ineligible men downfield.
Right. Yeah.
So
they cracked down on that last year.
Yeah, they cracked down on
the big
that was a
referees.
point
They
of
cracked
emphasis.
down on that.
So.
Yeah.
But they cracked down on it so much that sometimes some of those was ill-advised calls that were it shouldn't have been even called.
Yeah.
Some of the holding calls, it's like they missed so many calls, and you want to hold everybody accountable. Hold those damn officials accountable for the stuff that they miss and the calls that they make and don't make.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. Injuries are part of the game. You just hope and pray that you don't get the wrong injury.
Right.
Because
if
Jalen Hurts gets hurt, this whole team, as we saw last year, the whole team is changing.
Ripple effect.
It's all changing because he's the one that makes that offense run.
Right.
I don't care who you put in behind him, it's not going to be the same.
No.
So we have to hope and pray that they can stay as healthy as they did last year, which they did. They stayed pretty healthy last year.
Yeah.
And they got real lucky on when Hurts did get injured, his shoulder. That was a fairly serious injury.
Right.
But he was able to come back and play effectively in the playoffs.
Right.
And if that had been a little bit worse, and he didn't play again last year, there's no Super Bowl.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
What one of the good things is, and I kind of harp on the fact that, okay, got you. Just tell me when commercial. I'll go to commercial. Just say commercial, okay? Don't.
Let me real quick wrap up the offensive line.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I was getting ready to say something, but never mind. He messed me up.
They gave up 44 sacks last year.
Right.
But that number doesn't mean much. It had a lot to do with the playing style of their quarterback. A lot of those sacks were like -1 yard when you went to take off and not quite make it.
Yeah.
This is probably the best pass protecting group in the league. The one guy that has to pick it up this year, in my opinion, pass protection wise, is Malata.
Yeah.
He slipped last year
A little bit.
and he's better than that. The year before, I believe he was like the Pro Football Focus had him rated like the 14th or 15th best pass protecting offensive lineman in the league. So,
well, as we know, he was, in the process of getting married because he just got married. So maybe some of that was messing with him.
And he was probably practicing that song that he sang when his wife was dancing with
But
with
isn't
her
he
father.
lovely? Isn't he wonderful? Yeah.
And then what is it?
Stevie Wonder.
What was it?
Stevie Wonder.
The Masked Singer.
Yeah.
He was on the Masked Singer.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And he can sing, man.
Anyway, so that's pretty much it. This is a very good group. If they stay healthy, they're going to be one of the best.
You miss a tooth and a powder.
So, I'm sorry, what?
You miss a powder and a tooth.
Oh, yes. Sua gives them a real good depth. He can play center.
Yeah.
Driscoll's good. So, it's part of that depth.
Yeah.
That, Apeta doesn't get a lot of respect.
No, he doesn't. But I love watching him play.
Yeah.
Because when he gets in there, he gets his full maul on.
Yeah.
He had a couple plays a couple years ago where he just got pushed back.
Yeah. And
Go ahead. Remember that.
Yeah.
But he's averaged like 140, 150 snaps a year last 3 years.
Yeah.
He gives them a veteran who can step in there and guard or center if they need him.
Yeah. That's depth. Depth is important. Listen, we got a commercial coming up. Are we ready to go to commercial break?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Take it away, Sam.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
with our agree to disagree. Do you agree or do you disagree with this statement? The Eagles will finish in the top 5 in both the offense and the defense this year, 2023. The Eagles will finish. That's an easy one. In the top 5. I mean, it's for me, the Eagles this year is Super Bowl win or bust.
Yeah,
right.
If they don't go to the Super Bowl and not just make it to the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl, then they've wasted their season because they have a window. In my opinion, they have a window now, and there's a gap between the Eagles in terms of the NFC. There's a gap between the Eagles and every other team in the NFC, not even just the NFC East, but every other team in the NFC, and that gap, talent-wise, is going to exist for the next 2, maybe 3 years. So they have a window here of about 4 years where they can possibly, legitimately, viably win 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
That's legitimate.
I think the main reason is because it's because even though teams know what we're going to do, they still kicking people's butt. It's like even though they know we're going to run the ball, they no, you can't do nothing about it. Even though they know the play action fakes are coming, and you got 2 guys on. We got a receiver. We finally have a full-fledged receiving core. It's like
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
A full-fledged. You don't talk about that, but
I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We won't say full-fledged.
It ain't full-fledged.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So we have 2 great receivers.
We got 2 great receivers. That's what we have.
And we're looking for a third.
Yeah.
But it's like when you it's been a long time since you go out and you expect your team to win. You expect them to win each and every week. It's not any of those games where it's like, I don't know about this one. You pretty much expect them to win, and if they don't, you know they did something wrong.
Well, yeah, and that's. I was listening to the radio on the way over here. They were talking about that very same exact thing. How when we go to the stadium now for the game, we expect or we know that the Eagles are going to win. When years in the past, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what was going to show up on the field. But now we know that they're putting a product on the field that is going to win. It's just by how many points they're going to win by.
And how they're going to do it.
And how they're going to do it. Big Dog, why don't you talk about the defensive line?
My pride and joy here.
Pride and joy.
Well, you got the start. The defensive line is I like the defensive line mainly because of the depth of the defensive line and the ability to rotate guys and guys to play not only defensive tackle but as well as defensive end. You know they're going to start at left defensive end with Brandon Graham. And then I don't know if Jordan Davis is going to hold the spot, but I think he's going to hold the left D tackle spot over Jalen Carter, mainly because he's got rocks in his pocket. And
I like those rocks.
Yes.
He's got a lot of rocks in his pocket. He's got some pockets, rocks in his pockets, rocks in his back pockets, rocks in his ankles.
Have you seen him and Jalen Carter stand next to each other?
Big cat, man.
He looks like his kid. But you saw last year at times that he's really good versus the run, and he was able to crush the pocket. Right. A lot of people don't know that when you push the pocket, it makes it easier for the defensive ends to get the sacks.
Yep.
Then the right defensive tackle, you got Fletcher Cox.
Explain that though. Explain that because when you push the pocket, those guys in the middle are pushing the middle.
Right.
So now the quarterback can't step up.
Right.
That's what was happening last year in the Super Bowl.
And it's harder for the quarterback to run away from
Patrick Mahomes was just he'd get the ball, he'd take a step back, then he'd just step up in the pocket.
Yeah.
And nothing was in the pocket. He was just dead air, taking his time to throw the ball.
Well, it's because we were running a four-man rush versus 5. And when you have 5 versus 4, all they have to run is scan protection. Scan protection is one-on-one across the board. And if somebody starts winning, the guy who's running the scan protection is known in the center.
Helps out.
He picks them off. And it looks awful on tape. So it's like, but I feel like, and we didn't do anything to stop that. So normally they have the middle linebacker mud the center, so he can't do that. But we didn't do any of that last year. So Fletcher Cox, and hopefully he has another good season. I feel like he's got like one more year in him, one more really really good year in him. I think he's trying to come back just to win one, and I think he may want to go out on top. Then you look at the right defense, you got the Sweat Miser, Josh Sweat, no sweat. I really didn't put Hassan Reddick the kid Ryan on there because they don't have them at linebacker, and they're going to run what I think he's a disciple of Vic Fangio. So a lot of times what you're going to see on the field is you're going to see Jordan Davis line up over the center to be center killer, and Fletcher and probably Brandon Graham line up on the interior. Or they might even bring off the Milton Williams, who took some steps forward last year. You'll see those guys in the over the first 3, but then you'll see Hassan and Smith on the edge, being edge rushers to give everybody that one-on-one that you so lust for. I think this could be a dominant group, even though we lost Hargrave. That was a hard pill to swallow, but I don't think we were going to pay him that.
He's only one guy.
He's only one guy, and then we were able to draft Jalen Carter.
Right.
And Can't Get Right is coming back. You guys don't know who Can't Get Right is. Can't Get Right is Derek Bennett. I call him Can't Get Right because
they don't know who Can't Get Right is.
Oh, you guys have seen the movie Life?
No, I haven't.
No, see, they don't even know who Can't Get Right is.
Can't Get Right was a dude that just couldn't do anything right, and so they instead of calling his name, they call him Can't Get Right.
Guys.
And so Derek Barnett was. It's just the funniest thing is when Nick Sirianni first got here. It was every time it was a penalty. Like it was one game that the Tampa Bay game. I don't know if did you watch the Tampa Bay game before this past season? They were playing us here, and we had stripped the ball. We had to get the ball back because this Can't Get Right pushed the running back in the back and had got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But every time he say he's always that guy. If you're always that guy, you can't get right. And it's like no matter what he does, he is the QB late. He's making a mistake. But also we had Milton, Jalen, and you got Taron Jackson. He came on a little bit, but one of my favorite guys is Morrow Ojaman out of Texas. He's one of the big guys. He's an undrafted free agent, but he's a man amongst boys. If you watch some of the Texas film, that's what we need on our interior to become more physical. It's like a lot of times we did have a top-ranked defense. But a lot of times we got pushed around, and we got pushed around, and they ran on us. That's why we end up having to get Linval Joseph and Dominic Sue in here because they would run the ball down our throat. That bend but don't break crap. That's not defense. As a defender, you don't say that. But overall, I think we could come close to I think we get about 65 sacks this year. But I think we'll be better versus the run, just because of the young guys that I'm speaking of.
Right. Yeah. Carter being in there. Carter is one of the few. That's few and rare that can defend the run and the pass.
Yeah.
He can get sacks and he can stop the run. He's one of those like Reggie White, like Bruce Smith, those rare guys that come along and he can get both done. Yeah. So I think that's an improvement from Hargrave.
And he's young too.
Yeah,
Hargrave was a hell of a defensive tackle. I mean, 11 sacks from that position.
Right.
Oh,
that's real.
How did he do against the run though?
Yeah,
he wasn't optimum against the run.
I love Hargrave because he was getting sacks when nobody else was, and he continued. He was steady, but the part I didn't like was sometimes he would get thrown out of the club.
Right.
And that's right. And I didn't like that. And I think that's why they were able to let him go. And then when they got Jalen Carter, if you watch film on this kid, even when they try to double team him, he is a nightmare. And I think with him, with the rotation in the interior, they're going to give people fits. And it should be a lot better than what we've seen in the past. Because to me, last year's high-ranking defense was fugazi. Because you don't let the Washington Commanders come in here and just march up and down the field on you and just hold the ball away from your offense. Right. That's why we lost that game because we couldn't get the ball off. Like the offense, when the offense sputters as a defense, you're supposed to go 3 and out. You're not supposed to let them run 6, 7, 8 play drives down the field. And I think with the way they got this makeup and the new defense coordinator, goodbye Jonathan Gannon.
So what do you think Sean Desai is going to do? What kind of magic is he going to put in the hat and shake it up and allow us to see it?
I don't think it's going to be so much magic. You just have to do something different. We talked about this yesterday. Darius Slay and one of the offensive tackles from the Kansas City Chiefs were going back and forth on Twitter. And the offensive lineman said, how did y'all think y'all was going to beat us with the vanilla 4-man rush and running cover 5 and man under? He's like, you're just not going to win like that. You ran that all game long. I think he's going to add some stuff to make the offensive line think, because a lot of people don't realize if the offensive lineman always knows where you are, his game is easy. It's like, but if you move some stuff around and you take advantage of what I like to call pigeons, it's like when you know it's a guy that's the weakest link, you line up your best people over him. So you'll see Jalen Carter all up and down the line giving people fits, and you'll see Fletcher Cox. You'll see all those guys lined up in different positions because of their skill set on the pigeons of the offensive line.
Now you mentioned to say. I mean, he's not going to blitz much more than Gannon did.
No.
So what do you see How is it going to be different?
It's the zone traps. There's a lot of people don't. It's not about blitzing all the time.
Explain zone traps.
So the zone traps and the zone pressures came about when they first started doing the West Coast offense, because they were getting the ball out of their hand real quick. So the zone traps, you still might rush for, but you don't know which for.
Right.
Jim Johnson was the king of that. And a lot of people thought we were blitzing all the time, but no, you just running the zone pressure. You just don't know which for.
Right.
The offensive line. That's why when I was talking about the three defensive guys on the interior and the two guys, they call that the offensive line is going to say Navajo. Yeah. So that means that you one-on-one with everybody, and I think he's going to do that, because I feel like if we got our guys one-on-one instead of 5-on-4, it makes for better. And I think he's going to disguise more coverages.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, fellas?
Well, I liked you made several points there, and you were going through them so quickly. I didn't want to try to jump in,
Good.
but
you can't jump in. That's why
one concern I have about Jordan Davis, Tank, is I was looking at this for my show yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize this. His season high was 29 snaps, week 5.
Yeah.
They really didn't have him out there very much. And obviously they went to the Super Bowl. You're not like, why the hell didn't they play Jordan Davis? But
he was hurt for a while.
He's being expected to do a lot more this year.
Yeah.
And I just hope he's really up to it. I'd like to have seen more from him last year. And I think people expected more.
Yeah.
This time last year, I think people thought Jordan Davis would have a big impact.
Yeah, first-round draft choice.
You got to play defense.
I thought he was going to have a bigger impact too. And when they had the less amount of snaps, and then we went and got Jalen Carter, I already knew that he's just going to be like a rotational guy. That if he doesn't come on with the come on, Milton and Jalen it'll be Milton, Jalen, and Fletcher Cox doing the rotation, and then they'll kick Brandon. Graham will be down there on the interior too, over a guard, trying to get upfield. So I think it's up to him if he's going to be on the field, because if you don't make plays, you'll be standing next to the coach writing plays down.
Tank, let me ask you this. Last year, I talked to a bunch of people, including some sports science guys, some physiologists, who were talking about Jordan Davis, who was, he was a freak in the combine.
Right.
I mean, and a lot of them thought where they need to put this guy occasionally is like outside in a wide 9.
No.
Because you give a guy who can run a 10-yard split as fast as he can, by the time he hits, that he would not only get to the quarterback quickly, but there's nobody that could slow him down between the rush and the quarterback.
I think you leave him. You make him a center killer. You put him over the center, and as fast as he is, and as dominant and strong as he is, and then where do all offense plays start from? Yeah, you get in the center head, it's a done deal. It's like that's what I love about the side. They're going to the center most of the time on most teams is the weakest link. Yeah, so you want it to up the gut pressure. Up the gut pressure. That's where you got to get that up the gut pressure, and you kill the center. And who's giving out the calls?
Shortest path to the quarterback.
But who's
giving
out the offensive line calls? The center.
Yeah. Right.
But if you get somebody that's destroying him and making him have a long day,
right.
But if he's able to do that, I think Jalen Carter can do that as well. But I think we with Desai, I think we're gonna do more center killing.
More center killing.
Yeah, more center killing. And it's only a phrase. It's not. I don't mean it.
To be continued. So now we're getting to the best part of this show, because we're going to talk about the receivers.
Oh, brother!
Yes, the best,
I didn't see that coming.
The best position on the football field, wide receivers. I really believe that, and this is 17 years of experience. I believe we have 2 of the best receivers in the NFL right now, and as a duo, I believe some of them have them as the 3rd best duo of receivers in the league, but I have them actually as the 2nd best duo in the league, only behind the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Those 2 cats are it's unbelievable. That's going to be a game when Miami comes to Philly. If Tua can stay healthy, that's going to be a serious game when Miami comes to Philadelphia.
Corners will be there.
Yeah. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase over in Cincinnati. Some have A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith ahead of them as a better duo, but not me. I think T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, they're great, and they're both starters, just like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're both number 1 receivers. They can go on any team and start. We have the same. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith can start on anybody's team. And it's almost like they're opposites because you have A.J. Brown, who's the big brawler. Then you have
the Slim Reaper.
The Slim Reaper. They call him the Slim Reaper. People call him the Slim Reaper. That's not what I call him. He's number 6. I call him $6 and no change because he'll get you 6 points and he'll leave the defensive back wanting.
Yeah.
$6, no change. That's what I call him. But they both are setting records. They both stayed healthy last year. DeVonta, his 2 years here so far, he hasn't missed a game. He broke the rookie receiving record his rookie year. Last year, he broke my pass receiving record, and A.J. Brown tied it. They took him 17 games to do it, but so I kind of still have it. I claim that record.
You know George grabbing it up?
No, I'm not giving it up. But both those cats are unbelievable. They are capable of scoring from anywhere on the field. I'm particularly fond of DeVonta because he's a smaller guy, and he's just fearless. He's tough, he's fearless, and he's going to be a viable force in this league for a long time. The good thing about this year is that this is DeVonta's 3rd year with Jalen, and this is A.J. Brown's 2nd year. And obviously, this is Jalen's 3rd year in a row with that offense. So they're going to hit the ground running at the beginning of the season. I don't think there's going to be too much that's going to take them by surprise. There's a lot of conversations that go on in the locker room when they're not playing football off the field between themselves, quarterback and receiver. I always did that with my quarterbacks. Listen, when I do this, I'm going to do that. When I do that, you do this. That extra stuff that plays into part when they develop that relationship between a quarterback and receiver. But I said all that to say this. There's a concern when it comes to the wide receivers because we only have 2 of them.
Yeah.
After DeVonta Smith, after A.J. Brown, there's a major proven drop-off. And I don't care what Nick Sirianni tries to say. I don't care what Quez Watkins tries to say. It's a major drop-off.
Yeah.
And Quez has been just a failure. We got a guy named Zacchaeus that's here. Well, Zacchaeus, salvation came to his house in the Bible, but he's not bringing salvation here.
Now, Reverend Irving, my joke there was, you'll appreciate this. So he's a small receiver.
Right.
Is he going to have to climb a tree to see
the ball? Yeah, because Zacchaeus had to climb the tree to see Jesus. That's right. So he's not bringing salvation to the. Then you got Devin Allen. I mean, Devin. Here's my advice to you. You need to make up your mind.
Yes.
Are you going to run track?
Yes.
Or are you going to play football? And in my opinion, you need to stick to track.
Yeah, that's, I don't begrudge the guy his track career, but I was shocked to see him out there on the circuit this summer. Yeah. I mean, he was a practice squad player last year.
Right.
If he really wants to make a go of this, he's got to commit to it.
Exactly.
And he doesn't seem to be doing that.
Nope.
And maybe he should just forget it. Maybe he should go on. I mean, he is one of the best hurdlers in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. You can make money doing that these days. I mean, it's not like, that's a
he only
trifling concern. But
he didn't make the last Olympics because of his own doing. Of course, they said he had a false start. We couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was eliminated from the Olympics because he had a false start. But he
But the receiving core, I just get tired. I just got tired of Quez going on social media talking all that trash. It's like you let your play do your talking.
He's already let his play do his talking, and it's not good.
I think everybody hates him from the Super Bowl bench drop.
So here's my argument for DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
We need to. He's still on the market.
Yeah,
nobody's picked him up. Everybody talks about, okay, AJ Brown last year, he was on the sidelines and he was crying because he wasn't getting the ball. What is that? I mean, is that really what happened?
Nope.
Was he really complaining?
Nope.
In my opinion, I didn't see that.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, people said, well, he was on the sidelines that one particular game complaining because he didn't get the ball. Do you really think that AJ Brown would have a problem with DeAndre Hopkins coming in and being the third receiver? Do you really think that?
No, but I think DeAndre would have a problem.
No. I don't think DeAndre would, because look where he was. He was at Arizona.
Yeah.
What were they doing? I mean, he was catching balls, but what were they doing as a team? Nothing.
Right.
And this is his 11th year.
Yeah.
He's ready to win.
And
I don't think he'll have a problem coming in and being the third receiver.
If you're right about that, it's a great idea.
But have you guys thought of this? That you wouldn't have to even put him as the third receiver,
because they start three.
Wait, they start three, but when you look at it, how many passes did Quez miss last year? How many times did we not go to Quez and then the other guys were double teamed and Quez couldn't get us out of that jam?
Right. Well, Quez would have caught way more balls than he did.
DeAndre Hopkins, those passes that he dropped, DeAndre Hopkins more than likely is going to catch them.
I'm just not sure that he's compatible cap-wise. Whether they can afford him.
Again, I knew that was going to be an issue. He's so far. It's almost training camp time.
Right.
Yeah.
So much time has gone by. He's not going to get the money that he wants. He's going to have He's going to have to take whatever he can get. What I do know about DeAndre right now is that he wants to go to a team that has a great chance of winning. There's only the Super Bowl,
a one-year deal,
and there's only a couple of teams. That one's Kansas City, one's maybe Buffalo. People are touting Buffalo as a viable Super Bowl contender, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And we don't have any depth at the wide receiver position. We just don't. And God forbid one of those two cats, and they've been healthy. Thank God they've been healthy, but God forbid AJ Brown goes down or DeVonta Smith goes down. And now what are we stuck with? Right now we're stuck with Quez Watkins.
I was at camp last year, Irv, and Mike Quick liked Quez Watkins at that point, and he really thought he was going to come on. What do you think happened to Quez Watkins?
Well, obviously, it's the same thing that happened to Carson Wentz. He didn't all of a sudden lose his talent.
Yeah.
He's got a head problem.
Yeah.
He's got a confidence problem. And he's doing things in his mind, just like I do on the golf course. When I start hitting the ball wrong, I got a head problem. It's not that I can't hit the ball, but I'm overthinking. I'm building a block in my mind that's keeping me from flowing physically. So that's what's happening with Quez. And the more he drops balls, the more that's going to happen. And it's the same thing that happened with the quarterback. What was his name? Carson Wentz.
You think
same thing.
Yeah.
He didn't all of a sudden lose his talent.
Right.
He had a head problem.
Yeah. You think it was just that you're just not that good at golf? I'm just asking for a friend. You're just not that good at golf?
No, I'm good at golf.
Oh, okay.
Because there's times when I play good, but I think what Quez needs is to get out of Philadelphia and go somewhere else and start over again, and then he can regain his confidence and be the player that he's capable of being. Is he a starter in the NFL? No, I don't think he has the talent to be a starter. When I look back on his stats from when he was in college and in his first few years here in the NFL, I don't think that he has the talent to be a starter. Could he be a good third or fourth wide receiver? Yeah, but he hasn't done that here with the Eagles, and that's where they have him right now. They have Quez as the third receiver.
I know,
but I don't know why they have the confidence in him that they have. I guess they're seeing something that we haven't seen. A lot of times, people are practice champions.
I was going to say that because that's what Quick liked about him. Because Mike Quick liked what he saw in practice.
You know who else was a practice champion? There was the kid named that we sent to Minnesota.
What about
Jalen? Was the kid we sent to Minnesota receiver? We drafted in the first round instead of Justin Jefferson.
Oh,
starts with an R.
It starts with Jalen Rager.
Rager.
He was tremendous. He was tremendous in
practice.
No, because I went to some practice and he one-handed catches, jump out, and when they were practicing against another team, looked tremendous. Got in the game and did nothing.
Let me ask you guys something. This doesn't directly speak to the wide receiver position.
Okay,
but the running backs.
Right.
I mean, they bring in DeAndre Swift, who is one of the best receiving running backs in the league.
Can I
They've
give you some
got
stats
Kenny
on him?
Yeah.
Since 2020, DeAndre Swift has caught 156 balls. The Eagles running backs together have caught 182 balls. He has receiving yards 1,198. Together, the receiving running backs for the Eagles since 2020 are 1,211. 7 TDs with Swift, 2 TDs with the Eagles running backs. First downs, 50 Swift has. 50 first downs, 52 the Eagles running backs total since 2020. He has an average yards after catch 8.3 yards.
Yeah.
And the running backs were 6.9.
They started using Gainwell more as a receiver in the playoffs,
That's what I was about to say.
Do you think we're going to see more of that this year, particularly
different offensive coordinator too?
But quickly, like the one thing that I don't think that a lot of people paid attention to is somebody came up short and shrunk in the Super Bowl, and that was Booby Miles Sanders, and he was running scared. But when they turned around and if you go back and look at that game, when they handed the ball off to Gainwell, when they handed the ball off to Gainwell, he ran with purpose and ran downhill.
Outstanding.
And I think that's going to be the formula this year. They got a bunch of guys in there who are not one-trick ponies who could get out of the backfield. And then Rashaad Penny, it'll be interesting to see if he tenderizes some of the opposing defenses to help out the other.
It's all about staying healthy.
Exactly.
Guys, we got to go to a commercial. One more commercial break. We'll be back with our last segment. Be right back here on A2D Radio.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today. Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today. Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
All right, we're back here with the All-Star group talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Les left and Tommy's in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Line change.
Is that an upgrade? Did we just upgrade?
I think you downgraded.
No.
We've got balance.
We just made an upgrade.
We're deep here.
So what are you talking about today, Tom?
Well, I guess I got the linebackers, right?
Oh,
and not many of them, right? Nicholas Morrow and Nakobe Dean are two starters.
Right.
I love Nakobe Dean. That's really why I wanted to jump in, because I just think he's a born leader.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that at Georgia. And last year, he didn't need to take the keys. Right. But I think getting that year of experience under his belt, getting that rookie year under him, and then being able to play with guys in front of him like Carter, Jordan Davis, I think it's going to pay dividends for us as a football team and him. So I think he's a step in and play guy right away.
Right.
And I think he walks into 100 tackles, and if he doesn't, he's going to lead the defense, going to get us in the right calls, which is so important, right?
Right.
And we go from there. I don't know enough about Nicholas Morrow. I know he had a good year in Chicago last year.
He's good. I like
He's good, and obviously
physical.
he's had a little bit of a relationship with Sean Desai, a little bit.
A little bit. Sean Desai was there in Chicago with him before the new coaching staff.
Okay, yeah.
If you look at Morrow, he took a different path to get to where he is. He was not on anybody's radar at first coming out in college, but then he just pretty much worked himself into what we see today.
Mhm.
He's a good physical linebacker, and he's pretty much no nonsense. So he gave when we played him this year. Oh man, when we played Chicago this year,
Right. Yeah, that was the game where Jalen got hurt.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like he's the one who hit him.
Yeah.
Was he the one that hit him?
I don't know. It just made me think he's the one who hit him, but I don't know if he did.
I think it was the defensive end, not the linebacker.
He played the way that they do things is he played like the outside linebacker.
Yeah.
And are you gonna hit Nolan Smith and Hassan Reddick as well?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. Is Nolan Smith more of an edge rusher, which I think is what he is, or is he going to play some stand-up outside linebacker?
Remember, he ran the 4-4.
Right.
He said he can set the kid is and I've had the privilege of going over there catching some of the practices and stuff to make sure walkthroughs and getting to hang with him on alumni day that Irving didn't show up for. And he's thirst for knowledge.
I wasn't asked to come to alumni day. Let's make that clear. Whoever watching over the Eagles.
So but he's a student. He's a real student of the game too, and it's like he's trying to learn everything. And I think he's going to do what it takes for the team to win. And the other part too is like he's one of those interchangeable parts, like where you see a bunch of guys on the defense on the field, but you don't know who's doing what. So if you put him, Hassan Reddick, and the two middle linebackers in there, and you got 3 or 4 defensive linemen in there, you don't know what they're going to line up in. And that's the Vic Fangio effect. Because even though it's going to be just 4 guys coming, you don't know which 4 guys. So it's called organized chaos.
Mm-hmm. Paul, Tom, like you were talking about earlier, though, I remember hearing someone saying about Nakobe Dean and specifically that when he was playing with all of those Georgia Bulldogs and he was the linebacker, he was the quarterback on that defense. And some of those guys, obviously, a few of those guys are on the team now with the Eagles, and they looked to him. He was the leader. He was the guy that they listened to. He was the one that pointed people in the right direction and called the particular defenses and kept that team or that defense together. Someone, even though some of them got drafted higher than he did, he was still the guy when they were in college, and he's got some of those guys with him now, quite a few of them with him now. So I believe, like you're saying, that Nakobe, having had that year underneath him to sit back and watch, yes, he did play special teams. Yes, he did get in a few times, and he wreaked havoc when he was in there. I think that he's going to have a great year. I really do. Guys who come in, players who come in the rookie year that may even struggle a little bit, they make a big jump. They make a great jump from the rookie year to the second year. This is that year for Nakobe Dean. He's going to have to if this defense is going to be half of what it was last year.
Yeah, and I think the other side with him is that when you look at like drafting a guy like Jalen Carter, I'm not going to say you don't make that pick without talking to Nakobe Dean, but I'm going to say you don't make that pick without talking to Nakobe Dean. You don't make that pick without talking to Jordan Davis. I think those guys are important on why Jalen Carter's in an Eagles uniform,
right? Regardless
of the talent. We know the talent's there. It's obvious, but it's the off the field stuff that's a little concerning, right? But obviously kids make mistakes, right? But I don't think he's brought here unless Nakobe loves him.
We also don't make that pick without talking to Jalen Hurts and Jason
Kelce,
and a lot of your veterans who are the guys that are going to be responsible for making sure that nothing happens.
And I really don't think it's a concern until it's a concern.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, me
like
either.
you said, kids make mistakes, grown-ups make mistakes. So he's happy to be here. I think his former teammates are happy that he's here. And we got actually the best player in the draft. We got to steal.
You think that was still getting Nolan Smith when we got him?
When we got Nolan, yeah.
Getting Ringo.
Yep.
The DB.
So let me ask this question, because this is always, this is a part of our show yesterday. Do you think the Eagles are a better team offensively and defensively this year? I think they're better, definitely offensively, just because they're together for another year. So they get a chance. That learning curve doesn't exist. They get a chance to start, hitting the ground running offensively. But defensively, the equation, having lost, 5 defensive players, particularly at linebacker and safety positions. So do you think this team is better right now, than the Eagles last year at this point last year?
I don't even think it's close. I hate to say that, but I don't even think it's I don't think it's close on paper, right? On paper, it's not close. Obviously, they got to go play the game. And last year, you get to a Super Bowl, it's hard to say that this team's better right now. But if you look at it, I mean, look at everything they brought back, right? Look at, like you talk about, the offense is all back together. The whole band's back together outside of Isaac, who I really like. And it was tough to let go, but you had to, right? But this defense is younger. It's better. It's faster.
And Jonathan Gannon's gone.
And I'm right on your side with that. I mean, I'm anti-Jonathan Gannon. I got a lot of heat for that this year. And I'm not saying I'm Mr. Like, you got to blitz, like Hollis is saying, like, you got to blitz all the time.
No,
just don't be missionary.
I was for, and I rooted for Jonathan Gannon last year. Everybody, was, you got to do this, you got to do that, always being the couch potato or couch quarterback, Monday couch quarterback. But then my mind changed in the Super Bowl when Kansas City ran 2 plays in a row, one on the right side, scored wide open, one on the left side, came back down after punt return, first play, ran the same play.
Simple motion.
And nothing was corrected. That's when I knew Jonathan Gannon needed to go, because that should have never happened. There's no excuse for that. That's nothing but coaching. That should have been taken care of, should have been talked about, and made the correction on the sidelines immediately after that first touchdown, and it wasn't taken care of, and they came back and did the same thing again and made the Eagles look foolish.
The one thing that you do know about when you have players, when they look like they haven't went over something, they haven't.
They haven't.
They haven't. They look like they had never seen that the first time. It was the first time. Even the second time looked like it was the first time that they had seen it.
It's the same thing.
And it's like if you don't go over the practice and the players never seen it, it's going to be Keystone Cops.
Listen, guys, we're done. I'm being told to wrap this up. Listen,
They don't tell us what to do.
I know they don't tell us what to do. We got the mics. We're in control right now. But we got to go anyway.
Yeah.
A2D Radio. This is our first All-Star Podcast right here, Dolan's. That's right. I got it, Craig. Relax. He always got to tell me what to do.
He tried to.
Tommy's in the house. Paul's in the house. Les was in the house. He's standing right over there, y'all. He's still here. Yeah, and Hollis is in the house. I'm Irving Fryar. Thanks for being with us. You heard it right here. All Stars Podcast, A2D Radio. See you next time.